Opportunities are available in all walks of life in Australia. So if you're young and if you're healthy, why not get a boat and come to Australia? The chance of a lifetime, you get what you want.
Nobody has to be any better than what they want to be.
Australia. No class distinction, no drug addiction.
Nobody's got a chip on their shoulder.
We'll surf like they do in the USA. We'll fly down to Sydney for a holiday on a sunny Christmas day. Australia,
Welcome back to the Get and Lit podcast. Last episode we talked about some sword and sandal films and the homoerotic poetry of Cathy. This episode I am live at previous guest Matt Fresta's house because I am passing through the area and we're talking about the Kinks discography. We're doing this for a very specific reason. One of those reasons, though, is that Matt is super into the Kinks, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, welcome. Well, I'm at your house, so I'm being welcomed. Thank you.
Yeah. Good to be here.
Yeah, so why the Kinks? Why are you into the Kinks, Matt?
Well, just like, when I was a teenager or whatever, like I listened to the Beatles and the Stones a lot, and the Kinks I knew of. Like I always liked, You Really Got Me and Lola and the songs you'd hear on the radio, but I never like delved into them. I just thought they were kind of like the Trogs or something, a band that had like a few singles from the 60s that are kind of like 60s garage rocker kind of things. And it's actually funny, I remember like at some point my friend Dan, where it's like probably, like 15, maybe even longer than that years ago, he was like saying, he's like, the Kinks are a good band, hey? And I was like, yeah. He's like, but I can never find their CDs anywhere. And then I started looking in JB Hi-Fi's and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I can't find a single Kinks album. What's up with this? I thought they were like a huge band, like. And then eventually I did find like Schoolboys in Disgrace on CD, and I bought it for him as a birthday present. But I was kind of like, oh, this looks weird. Like, it looks like from the 70s. This must be past the point when they were good. But I was like, it's the only one I could buy, and it was like $37 or something like. And so I remember sort of listening to it a little bit when he was like, oh, there's a couple of fun songs on here, but I didn't really. Yeah, didn't follow the path that much then. And then a few years later, like, I was friends with a guy, Gutterball Pete, and he plays like in some Brisbane bands, and he was just mad Kinks fan, and this other guy, Greg, he was also, they were just older guys like telling me like, oh, you gotta listen to Kinks, they rule. And so they just burned me some CDs, and I sort of listened to them in the car, but didn't really get super into it. But then I was like at a record store and I found like Schoolboys in Disgrace on vinyl for like $5, and then I just was like, oh yeah, alright, and I took it home, and then I just like really got into that record, and I was like, holy shit, this is so sick. And then I just I can't remember what I listened to next, and I just started like downloading their albums and buying whatever I could find on record, and yeah, just the obsession just kind of grew from there. And I really got into their 70s stuff, like, because I guess I just didn't think it would be good, and then when it turned out it was, and yeah.
So you actually, this came about because you like announced, I think, somewhere on social media, perhaps on one of the many Discords that we're both in.
Oh yeah, I tweeted. Yeah,
you tweeted. You're like, I want to do like a full retrospective sort of like gush about the Kinks.
I think I just said someone should have me on their podcast to talk about the Kinks, and then you texted me.
Because I was like, because from what I remember, I sent you that documentary, the Imaginary Man one.
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch that?
No, I didn't actually.
It's really cool because I remember watching it, and I only like put 2 and 2 together recently when you suggested this. Because I remember bits of it, and I remember that guy being, and I didn't really clock. Well, I knew Ray Davies was the lead singer of the Kinks, but I didn't really clock that that's what you were talking about for some reason.
Yeah.
And I remember just liking him as a personality, like, because he was very like observant about in the interviews and stuff like that, and he would like just rattle off like a literary reference. And now that I've listened to a lot of their albums, like, he's such a great, like, not just a great songwriter, but a great writer. Like, all of the songs, not all of them, but like many of them are like little short stories. And so I feel like this is a music episode, and I'm really bad at speaking about music, so I usually get people to mansplain music to me. So this is one of those episodes. But what I really like about their work, this body of work, is, that kind of literary approach that they take. Obviously, it's really musically impressive, but like lyrically, I just was like obsessed with this. Like, the lyrics are great, but they also are great because they build stories too. So I guess that's why this happened, right? Like,
yeah, he's like Randy Newman, you know,
yes,
like his songs are all like, they, you know, he invents characters and then writes a song from their perspective, and like, you know, it's also he weaves himself in there a bit, but I think he's a bit of like a observer on the outside, and I think, like, from what I've read of autobiographies and stuff, he felt that way through the band. Like, he was kind of always sort of like the more bookish one that was like thinking all of this stuff and coming up with these characters, and he's a real people watcher kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm very much that kind of guy too. I love people watching, and what I think is really great about him is that he is not overly sort of judgmental in his people watching. Like, there's heaps of funny songs, like, about like funny characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he'll kind of be honest about things, like, and just depict people as they are rather than as they should be, according to like various different archetypes and like political sort of like viewpoints and things like that.
He's not trying to like invent a character to like fit an agenda. He is trying to create like rounded characters that feel real and have flaws. And things like that. And then even like in Sunny Afternoon, you know, that song was originally going to be called The Taxman's Taking All My Dough. But like, he didn't want it to just be like he was a newly rich guy. He didn't want it just to be then, I'm newly rich, and then criticize this labor tax thing. So he kind of like put in that guy was like a scoundrel that like beats his wife and things like that in the song to like, so that it's not like Beatles Taxman. Like, it starts with that line, and then of course everyone's gonna be like, fucking Taxman, like, when they hear that. But then he's also like, you forget about that immediately, and you get caught up in the rest of the song, which it would be just a one-dimensional thing if it was just about tax or whatever.
And that's another thing too, which we can get into when we talk about some of the songs. But this guy can write a song about anything. Like, I can't remember which album it's on, but like Hay Fever.
Oh yeah, it's on Misfits.
Yeah, he literally writes a song about hay fever. Like, and so. But there's other examples as well. But like, that's great. Like, I love that he could just write a song about anything. Because like, I feel like a lot of songwriters have this sort of romantic idea that songs have to be about something. You know, they can't just be, I got hay fever today. Like, So it's weird because he has this like, he has a whimsical style, but also very down to earth and almost like kitchen sink realism kind of stuff going on. But we should probably talk about the band itself. Like, so it's sort of started with the two brothers, so Ray Davies and Dave Davies. And what I like about this setup is how the tension between those two brothers like basically carries through, and power. It's the engine of the band, right? Would you sort of say that? Like,
That's definitely like, because it's interesting. Like, they kind of I think they have different dads or something, or different mothers. I I forget which, but like he has kind of like, you know, they're like a Cockney kind of like big family with aunts that are the same age as him and things like that. And so like Dave and Ray kind of grew up a bit separately in the two parts of the family, and then like as they were teenagers they bonded over music. And like Ray in the early days was very like complimentary towards his brother, constantly saying his brother's his favorite guitarist of all time, and Dave would say like, you know, Ray's my favorite songwriter and things like that. But yeah, then over the years like attention did grow, and like, you know, by the end of it like they hate each other. You know, like on the last album Phobia there's an incredible song Hatred, a duet. It goes for like 9 minutes and it's just
so good,
back and forth, like just vicious, like at each other, like it's like I've got the dirt on you so keep your mouth shut about me kind of thing. And it's like like, you know, a band like Oasis, you can see how they've taken that sort of thing. They're two brothers that are like hate each other, and like, you know, their first album's called Definitely Maybe, which there is a Kinks song called that. So it's like, I wonder with Oasis, like if they're leaning into that a little bit, or I mean, I think they probably do fight those guys, but
yeah, but I remember like I can't remember where it was. I was either reading it or watching something, but like they were throwing like cymbals at each other. Like it got really violent and aggressive. But and they clearly are very different kinds of people. I read that Ray's the younger one, isn't he?
I think he's a bit older.
Okay, so I think it was like he was raised around a lot of his
women
sisters.
and stuff.
And then I think Dave came along and sort of shook that up a little bit, and maybe he got some attention taken away from himself, or
it could have been something like, I forget exactly all the details.
I love those dynamics though. They're always really juicy.
And like it's just to think like, you know, Dave is a really, really good guitarist, you know, like and he wanted to be just playing like stadium rock, sort of be like the Who, and like Ray, you know, he was the most dominant sort of one of the band, and he wanted, you know, through the 70s, that's when it got weird, and he just went off in his like vaudevillian kick and making them play these like albums that weren't really selling that well. You know, they came from the 60s writing these huge hits and doing songs that were like even sometimes knocking the Beatles off the chart. Like
and the same sort of vibe as the early stuff. For anyone who doesn't know, like the Kinks in the 60s is that Brit pop sort of, is it
bluesy kind
sort
of
like,
rock and roll, beat pop, Mercy
like,
beat. I mean, I don't know if they're Mercy beat specifically that, but like, it's like the garage 60s
short poppy
British
sounds.
Invasion. Like their first album is very much just like a collection of like Little Richard covers and things like that, and then a few originals and stuff that sounds kind of like the Yardbirds and you know, bands of that ilk kind of thing.
And so then obviously they had a long career, and we'll talk about like some of the albums, but so they progressed from that to Ray very early, actually, from what I could tell, started writing weird shit or at least shit that like wasn't in the vein of that earlier stuff, and kind of made a bit of a departure and didn't sell very well, right?
The 70s stuff, like if you read autobiographies or biographies, like with those kind of bands, they always dwell a lot on the charts and stuff, and it's like the roller coaster is whether or not they're like doing well in the charts, and like and they still hold on to these things for like forever. So they had a lot of hits, and you know, it took them a while to sort of start charting. They had a lot of flops. Their first few singles didn't, like, they were still doing all right, like 45 or 67 in the charts, but that's not enough to like sustain a group in those days for the investors. But then once they like had like You Really Got Me and things like that, then they just started like had a lot of hits. And then just once Ray started doing his weird stuff, like that, like they had their cult following, but it wasn't doing well in the charts. And they were also just making more albums by that stage. They were doing lots of concept albums and things like that. So it just didn't work as well in the market at that time, sort of thing.
What I loved about that trajectory as well is that most, like, well, if you take the Beatles for instance, like, and I love the Beatles, like, sort of I really kind of agree with Glenn with the like stupid contrarian, oh, the Beatles aren't that good, like takes. I get that. But in that era, you had that trajectory because of the nature of the period, I guess. You went from the 60s to the 70s, where everyone in the 70s got weird. But what happened with the Kinks, and I think this is in large part due to Ray, they got weird in a different way. Like, so, the Beatles went all like Eastern and John Lennon, like commie bullshit that happened later. But Ray almost went like back to like, you know, Little Britain kind of stuff, you know, like the music hall and all of that sort of stuff. And what I find really interesting about it is that because of their relationship to America, which was fraught for various reasons, they didn't like Americanize in the same way that these other like British acts did. Like, it's almost like Ray went back into his childhood and his neighborhood and his country. And they never did the whole rock star, like, kind of, even though they had a sort of punkish spirit, even though it's not really punk rock, I don't know, it feels like Ray sort of respects where he comes from and his country and like likes being English and isn't like, you know, being a communist. There's like a non-ironic sort of like love for Britain, whilst also sort of like sometimes maybe sending it up a little, but like it's not this like like tongue-in-cheek kind of like God Save the Queen kind of nonsense or whatever. It's like he's genuinely like, no, like God Save the Queen, like you know he was knighted. Oh really?
Yeah. I mean, they do that to a lot of rock stars or whatever. It doesn't really mean anything, but I remember when it happened, I was kind of like, all right, Sir Ray.
Sir Ray.
But yeah, like in the America thing, like they were kind of rejected by America, like and then like I forget exact details of that. They did one tour, I think in the like late 60s or something, and it just didn't go very well. And
isn't there's some like weird mystery about like why they were basically stonewalled or like banned from the US for some. It's kind of hazy about why.
I think it's partly to do with like musicians unions things. Like they did something maybe where they used like a backing track, or they hired someone who wasn't technically. I wish I could remember this, but there's a great book that Ray Davies wrote called X-Ray, and it's kind of like a memoir autobiography, but it's also like autofiction, and like a lot of it's made up, and there's lots of flight. It's a great book. Like the premise is it's not even from his perspective in the book. It's from this guy who works for the corporation and like, which I guess is BBC, and then he's been tasked to like write a definitive like biography on Ray Davies, and then he like tracks him down, and he's just this like lecherous old creep living in this warehouse, and he does all these like theatrical mind games, like playing like he has like this control system, and he's like playing all stuff, but then it gets all like mind melding and their dreams start merging, and like and it gets really conspiratorial. And so he talked about America and that, and he takes on a very conspiratorial tone about it, like that America has it in for the Kinks. And so in that book it's hard to tell what the truth of it is and stuff like that, but I think it's you nailed it. Like they were sort of like rejected by America, and so he's like, all right, like I'm gonna just go ultra British, you know, like, and just really lean into that and like be sincere. And I think it comes from a genuine place too, that he does love his country. You know?
And not like so, and that's why I say it's like a very different weirdness to the other stuff, which was all about like mind expansion and like love everyone, sort of like hippiness that kind of, or was sort of a hangover from the late 60s, but like continued into the 70s, that like it was just like, nope, I'm gonna write like folk songs, like traditional like English sort of music.
And like their most like psychedelic stuff, like probably the most psychedelic songs are like Australia and Shangri-La.
Yes, I love
which have
songs.
Like super prosaic yet profound kind of like lyrics behind them. They're not just like, you know, like an Easy Target or something, you know, like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which even the Beatles admit is kind of like about nothing and random just like psychedelic imagery, whereas like the song Australia is like, you know, about like this idea of like you can move to Australia and it's a paradise, it's perfect. It's like, you know, like the lyrics are like there's no drug addiction, you know,
no one has a chip on their shoulder.
But then like you feel the song sort of breaking down, and that sort of feels like that's presenting you the irony of it, the tongue, like obviously this is not a real version of what Australia is. And that also comes from like his aunt, I think it's his aunt, like moved to Australia. So his aunt and uncle and then his cousin or whatever, like they moved to like Adelaide in the 60s, and that was really like traumatic for him. And so like a song like Rosie, Won't You Please Come Home, that's about her and stuff. And yeah, like, so I think they were like family members that he was particularly like close with, and then they just all of a sudden went, oh, we're going to Australia because there's a better lifestyle there. And so, and then like the song Shangri-La, which is just about a guy who sort of like finally has like made his home nice to live in kind of thing, like, and now he can just sit in his chair and recline knowing he has all this nice stuff, and then it goes into like a great like instrumental psychedelic breakdown.
That is a real phenomenon though. Once you get like settled and like, you know, comfortable enough in the space where you like, my house is nice now, you know.
Why would I go anywhere else?
Yeah. It is a Shangri-La. What album are those ones on?
They're on Arthur.
Okay.
Which is one of the better ones. I'd probably say it's the best one. Like,
that's still a 60s one, or is it?
Yeah. It's getting to the end of the 60s, but yeah.
Yeah, I really like that one. What else was on Arthur?
Victoria is one of like the hit people would know. Then there's like, then it's also got like some like anti-war songs, Some Mother's Son, Yes Sir, No Sir, Mr. Churchill Says. Although Mr. Churchill Says is sort of a bit more like, I can't tell how ironic it is, like, because it seems to be just like quoting things like, you know, you've got to fight the bloody battle to the bitter end or whatever.
Yeah, Mr. Churchill Says. But yeah, that was interesting, that one, because like that, because this is that thing where, and it's such a boring kind of discussion to have when people like make this distinction between irony and sincerity, but like you can have both. Like I think there's a bit of both, because like I said, he's very pro England. So the Churchill one I think is tongue in cheek, but also
it's clearly like an anti-war thing going on there, because there's like the one where it's like you know, the lyrics are like, give the scum a gun and make the bugger fight, and like they get sort of things like that. You know, it's clearly, you know, it's whatever, trite sort of thing, but you know, this was probably when Vietnam was going on and stuff, and like it's just way better than like ban the bomb, man. You know, like
it's at least more clever. You know?
Yeah,
like,
and then he was also like giving his like, but we can't lose. You know, like I feel like the Mr. Churchill thing is like, like war's bad, but I mean still like, you know, you still got to root for your country.
Yeah.
You know.
What, you want Nazis to take over?
Yeah.
Maybe Matt does actually. I've seen his library. But
hey, they're all just like for historical context.
I wanted to talk about Australia actually, because the Australia song I read had a different version in Australia.
Oh, really?
You didn't know this? Oh wow, I know something about.
Is there like a radio version or something?
Yeah, no, they altered it for some reason. Like I think they shortened it, and they just put like a instrumental sort of bit at the end, and it faded out. And I think that decision was made because probably by the record company, because it was like that kind of chaotic like sort of segment towards the end, maybe that like they thought that wouldn't play well with Australians. Like, no, Australia is a paradise.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder, like, was it just for like the single? Like, because they do that, like, you know, with there's definitely like lots of like radio versions. Like, you know, like Lola on their album, it says Coca-Cola, not Cherry Cola. But the single version says Cherry Cola because they were going to get sued or worried about getting sued but they still left it on the full LP. So I wonder if, because I was just looking at my copy of Arthur and I have a US copy. Yeah. So I was like, if I have an Australian copy, maybe. So yeah, it'd be interesting if it's like, if you get the Australian version of the LP, if it's like the shorter version.
Yeah, I'm just I'm Wikipediaing this shit because I'm just trying to.
Because it might have been like they thought, well, Australia could be a good hit to work in Australia, so we'll make a radio edit, whereas they probably didn't bother with that in the UK or America.
Yeah, in Australia, an abbreviated version of the song was released as a single.
Okay,
so,
there you go.
With another Arthur track, She's Bought a Hat. So yeah,
I love that track.
it.
That's one of my favorite.
Yeah, I
Kinks
love
tracks.
that too. That's so good. I love that we like the same ones. That one is so funny.
Yeah, and then because like I guess for people listening, like the lyrics are kind of like she's bought a hat like Princess Marina, but it's like and then like the guy's like he's bought a hat like Anthony Eden, but it's like then it's just them living like they're poor, like they've spent all their money on these hats, so that everything else they have to do is like it's like she wears it when she's doing the laundry, she wears it when she's scrubbing the stairs.
Yeah, and then there's like really like intricate detail about like how nice the hat is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then she's and stairs and like toilets.
And it just has that like like childish like almost glockenspiel-y kind of piano, and then it goes into that like chorus line. He also like, buddy, can you spare me a dime?
Yes.
Yeah, like they just like that stuff takes a while to notice how funny it is, but I mean you seem to have like grokked it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because again, I think like that when I first listened to this album, that song I was like, it's kind of annoying, you know. But all of the ones I found annoying, I'm like now come on like some of my favorite songs, like like that one, and there was another one I'm drawing blank on, but yeah, like it's just so absurd and just like like you said, you could just write a song about anything, about someone buying a hat,
and also just like really evocative too.
Yeah.
Like it's just you see the images and like it makes you laugh, like or whatever the emotion he's trying to evoke. Like I think that's just it's such skillful writing. Like so I appreciate the writing more than anything because I appreciate the music too because it's great music as well. So it's like special alchemy of the brothers, I guess.
Would you say stuff like that's camp? Like
I don't think so.
You don't think that's camp?
Maybe some people
I think
would
they
think
did get camp through the 70s though.
Yeah.
Like I think like the album like Soap Opera to me is like high camp. And that was when I first was like able to get my head around that concept and like find something that interests me within it, sort of thing.
Yeah, the problem with like calling everything camp though is just like you know, a lot of people I'm not saying you're doing this, but a lot of people like just anything old and kind of quirky, just like, it's camp.
It's like postmodern or whatever. Anything weird, it's I guess postmodern.
Yeah. Like Mo says in The Simpsons. Weird for the sake of weird.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I don't fully like know the definition of camp, and it seems like one of those things like when you try to like pin it down, it just always slips between your fingers. And that's kind of how I remember when I was younger, I just felt like so unable to like articulate what I liked about the Kinks, and I guess that's what I do like about them, that it is really hard to articulate. It's not like one, it's not a binary thing, it's like very subtle blending of things, and he's bringing in all these influences and like different musical styles that evoke things. And
I'm glad you mentioned that, the blending, because when you talk about the music is like, it seems like it anticipates so much stuff before it actually even happens. Stuff in the 70s, stuff in the 80s, and maybe that's a direct influence or something like that, but it feels like just more of a prophecy being fulfilled, you know?
I mean, it's hard to say because I wasn't there or anything, but there's definitely like the most kind of like even when he gets political in the songs, like I guess he can sort of like hide behind it being a character and stuff like that, but he's also like not afraid to like go a bit far with the like characters and make them like bad but yet humanize them and like take their side even, like like a song like Black Messiah, if you want to get into the most racist Kinks song, which I don't think is racist. I know I have a take on what I think his point is, but I guess like some of the lyrics are like, it's like everybody talks about racial equality, everyone's equal in the good Lord's eyes, but if I told you that God was black, what would you think of that? You wouldn't believe me. And then there's like further lyrics, and there's like one of the choruses, he goes like, I'm the only honky living on an all-black street. They knock me down because they brown and I white. And meanwhile, it's kind of like a reggae, up-picking kind of... What I think he's saying with that song is I think it was probably during a time of like, well, we're going to start being racially equal or something in the late 70s, like when there's probably all like Live Aid concerts and things. And he was probably saying, it's like, yeah, you guys all think you're like so with it because you can say I'm equal to a black person, but could you make your God a black person? Could you be beneath a black person?
Well, that's what liberals do these
Yeah,
days.
yeah. I mean, they have like, but I mean, yeah, I guess. There you go.
No, but yeah, that's interesting. The reggae is hilarious.
Yeah.
The fact that this is delivered in a reggae like pastiche is so funny. But I like the idea of like, especially that lyric of like him he's the only honky on the street and he gets knocked down. I like the idea of that, like it humanizes the whole.
Yeah, it's relatable.
Yeah. That's something that I was talking about on another podcast, Agitator, like a couple of weeks ago, is that all these people who are like ultra racially aware or whatever actually don't know any like other kind of races, and like therefore put them on pedestals and like sort of worship them, like I said, rather than know them as people. It's like,
and it
some black
creates
people
like
are cunts, sorry to say.
Yeah, and it creates like this weird distance where you're like, you're like either being too charitable or like taking pity. But it's like, because I remember you on that Agitator, you're saying, because we grew up in similar places, so like there's heaps of Aboriginals and like and people in those towns are pretty casually racist and stuff, and then like, but their best friend will be like an Aboriginal.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you come down to Brisbane, and I mean, I fell victim or whatever, fell foul of this, where you're saying things that you didn't realize people were going to take offense to, and they're like, whoa, you can't say that sort of stuff. And then you're like, but these people don't know any black people, like, or anything, like, they just have this, like, no, you just can't say that, like, that would just be wrong. But then they'll also, if it's like, they'll, like, listen to an album that's called, like, White People Must Die, and they'll be like, oh, this is brilliant, what a great point they're making, you know, like when I saw Jello by Afro live, the record he was touring on was, like, White People and the Damage Done, which is a clever title. I kind of like the title. But, it's just like, what? But yeah, like, I don't know, back to the sort of Ray Davies thing, like, he is not afraid to sort of, like, get into that and, like, make his characters, like, have these sort of conflicted things, or it's like saying things that were like, you know, it probably got him in trouble in the 70s, like, even that, you know, like,
Yeah, what album was that on, the Black Messiah one?
That's
that
on
was
Misfits.
Yeah.
That's the first album in the 70s when they sort of like stopped making concept records. Or actually, I guess the one before that, Sleepwalker 2, is like that. They both just have a lot of like good songs.
Yeah.
Like they're late 70s sounding, and like Dave got to like, you know, shred on the guitar a bit more. Keep going, you'll find them.
Just trying to see, they've all like mixed in with one. Like, it's actually, I do remember like the periods, but like lots of the 70s ones all mixed in for me. So I'm just trying to.
Oh yeah, you've only been like binging on them for a couple of months.
Yeah.
You know, I've been binging on for like over a decade now.
Oh, in the sleeve.
Oh yeah, it's like an inner sleeve
Does it
thing.
have the song title?
Yeah. Might even have lyrics.
Oh, this is the one with Hay Fever.
Yeah.
I love that song.
And Permanent Waves is another great one.
Yes.
Which the premise of that song is a guy goes to a doctor saying he's depressed, and so the doctor's like, why don't you get a perm? Like, what?
I love the rock and roll fantasy too. That one's hilarious.
Yeah, it's
this is actually a really hilarious album. This one.
Yeah, you'll get people who just will like not give it a go. Like they'll be like, oh, I like up to, and maybe if they go into the 70s, they'll always sort of stop shy of it. And it's just like, nah, dude, it's sick. Just keep going. Like, yeah, if you have this idea that like they need to sound like, you know, there's like the record nerd guy who's like, I only like their 60s singles like on Pi and nothing else. Like, you know, like that's like being a blues purist or whatever, which I always sort of look down upon, because I'm like, oh, so you take a genre like the blues, which everyone agrees is great, and then you limit it to the point where like people start being like, oh, I don't know, this is getting like too like influenced by, you know, pop stuff. And so you just make this safe opinion where you're like, I only like music that everyone agrees is great, and I'm like a nerd about it. Like, so, and then but like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Is I want to get people listening to the 70s Kinks records, like,
Yeah.
because people, once they really give them a go, they like even today, because I was posting on Instagram the Kinks records I was listening to, and this guy was like, dude, I'm checking out Muswell Hillbillies for the first time now. I don't know why I never fucking listened to this. It's incredible. It's like he just stopped at the 70s kind of thing. So I'm like, 70s Kinks build one person today. So
Awesome.
I feel good.
We'll do some more maybe with this episode.
Yeah, I hope so.
On this album as well, Misfits, I really liked Live Life, because it's like, you've got these, you've got Hay Fever, a song literally about hay fever. You've got the racist Black Messiah one. You've got like, Out of the Wardrobe we have to talk about as well. But like, Live Life is just a life-affirming song.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it's
and it's funny.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's just like, get off your ass and like do something with your life.
Yeah, it's like the guy who tries to commit suicide, but then he didn't pay his gas.
Yeah.
And so it's like, life goes on. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a really great live version of that on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's one I always like to listen to when I'm drunk. It just like really hits me. There's like kind of a longer intro with the guitar and just something about it. That one really, just sends me next level.
All right. So, Out of the Wardrobe. This is a good way to segue into Ray Davies' shall we say, transsexual fascination.
Yeah, his curiosity.
His curiosity about men who dress as women or live as women. Is this the first one, or did Lola come before?
Lola's before. Lola's
before
like
that.
From like about 69. That's Lola versus Power Man and the Money Go Round is the last of their 60s records.
Yeah. So that was the first.
That was the first tranny song, yeah. Well, transvestite, you know, like, because it's like they make it clear in the song that it's a man. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a man dressed as a woman, and that's okay.
Yeah, and then this one, like, this is so like, it's so funny because it's like, he's a married man.
Yeah.
And it's like this whole story. It's this whole story. This is again why he's so great, because he like weaves this entire story about like the first lyric is, has anybody here seen a chick called Dick? He looks real burly, but he's really hip. He's 6 feet tall and his arms are all brown and hairy. Well, he married Betty Lou back in 65. So like, this is a married man, and it's just about him exploring his sexuality or like his gender, so to speak. I love the is it the pre-chorus where he talks about princess stuff?
Oh, like when he comes out.
He comes out of the wardrobe.
Feels like a princess.
He looks like a princess.
And like his wife is accepting of it. Like it's not even like a sexuality thing. Yeah, it's just more like, I guess, that idea of he, you know, felt more comfortable in women's clothing, or he felt himself a woman or whatever.
Yeah, it's not he wants to be a woman. It's just like, he feels more comfortable in. But
if he wrote it today, now it's like it's out of top surgery or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, but he this is interesting as well, because it's sort of like, it's funny, but it's like, it's also he
it's sincere.
It's sincere, and he understands the character and sympathizes with him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily make him a laughing stock or whatever. It's kind of just like, he likes this, you know.
In X-Ray, there's a good bit he talks about Australia, and he's like, there's surprisingly a lot of like old queens in Australia, and he'll be like saying like, they look like these butch burly guys and stuff. He says something like Aussie woofers, jeez, like, yeah.
Yep, and he's right. So what is his thing too, by the way? Do you know what his orientation is?
It seems to be straight, like he's had a few wives, and he's got children and stuff like that, and you know, in X-Ray, it's funny because he gets quite sexual and stuff, talking about things, and he's just playing up the being a dirty old man kind of thing a lot in it. I think he's straight, like his
curious about the.
Yeah, I think he's just intellectually curious about it. More, I think it's just part of his people watching. It's just like a human quirk that he. But there's like things, I think, where like things where it could have happened with him, and I think he always just was like, nah, I'm happy just to sort of watch or whatever. Like his brother Dave had a boyfriend at some point in the like late 60s or 70s or something, like for a while, and you know, lots of those guys were doing that sort of stuff, like Mick Jagger and all those, you know. So sort of he was part of that ilk. There would have been no real thing, and plus the Kinks always leaned into
the kink.
Yeah,
the kinkiness,
they were.
yeah.
Everyone in London thought they were fags in the '60s. They were all like, and they had to lean into it a bit, and like yeah, they were the Kinks, and they were dressing in like bondage gear and stuff like that, and like, yeah, like I mean, you could see like the Sex Pistols being influenced by that, like, so yeah, I don't think he's gay at all, or maybe a little bit, but not enough to be like to cross.
70s gay.
Yeah,
like Bowie,
yeah.
Bowie kind of.
Yeah,
well, maybe
yeah.
not as much as Bowie.
Bowie,
but that sort of
I think
thing,
Bowie
like-
was just more like, oh, I'll also
Whatever.
do it,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you know what I mean. Where Ray's probably like, well, I'll write some songs about
Yeah.
it instead, you know, like
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and so yeah, he's got. Did he write any other tranny songs? Like I can't remember.
I'm trying to think.
There was Lola. There was this one, but like there's also like little smatterings
Oh.
in other songs.
There's
like
the
about-
movie Percy, which they
Yes,
did the soundtrack
yeah.
for, which I haven't seen the movie, but it is apparently about like it's either a woman who's wants a penis. It's about like they're trying to get the penis for the sex change, or it's the other way around. The guy trying to cut it off or something. I haven't seen it, but yeah, and like it's not like the songs really. It's actually a really nice album, and it's like some of the songs are a bit like Muzak-y, like there's like a Muzak version of like
Yeah.
You Really Got Me, and I think Lola like instrumental versions and stuff like. But then there's songs like where what's it called? Oh, I need to grab the record. I forget the
Yeah,
name of the
that's right.
song.
We've got piles of records all around us. So yeah.
The way love used to be, which is just like a beautiful song, like just like like I'm not even sure what the instrument is, some kind of like piano or something, and then just like these really like swelling kind of like melodies and things, and just like grabs. Yeah, it's really like heartwarming kind of song. And then there's also what's the other one that's really good? Moments. That's another beautiful one. And then it ends on this one, Willesden Green, which is kind of like a quick like country kind of song with someone. It's not even Ray singing; it's someone else from the band. But yeah, like so that I guess is another sort of his sort of like, tranny, sort of gender bendy kind of things. But I'm trying to think if there's any other songs.
There's usually like a few lyrics here, and that
Yeah.
probably is where like
Oh, yeah.
the idea of like he's a bit camp, isn't he? Because he'll throw in like things about a cross-dresser or whatever, or a fag or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, there's like the Destroyer. There's something
Yes.
about
Oh,
he
that's a
references
great song.
Lola, and he references
Yeah.
a lot of other old Kinks
Yeah.
songs and that. There's also the first song on is it Life on the Road? I think the first song on Sleepwalker. There's a lyric that goes. Arrived somewhere on Parade Street, a muscle man came my way. He said, "Hey, are you gay? Can you come out and play?" And like a fool, I went and said, "Okay." And there's also the Prince of the Punks. There's a lyric in there is like, he tried to be gay, but it didn't pay, so he got a motorbike instead.
That's like the sort of it's really funny because he has a quality. He's a really great lyricist, but he has a quality that like it has the same energy of teenage boys who watch a lot of South Park and have just started a band. That sort of stupidity of the lyrics, but like it's really good though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, he's a genius songwriter. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, reading the stuff, I think he wasn't super, like, confident at first. And then, like, even You Really Got Me, which people will sort of sometimes claim as, like, one of the first heavy metal songs. Even though I don't think it's a metal song, but I get what they're saying.
like the heaviness of
Yeah, because I like,
turning
you know,
up the amp
and then like Dave, I think like stabbed the cone of his speaker, like so it gave like the Link Ray thing to make it more distorted, and but like that song, I think his advisors and stuff, back then were sort of saying like, oh, I don't know about that song, it's weird. You should keep playing these sort of like blues covery sort of songs, and they have a lot of kind of like clunky songs that you go, this is technically a good song from the early ones, but you're like, they don't really like grab you.
Yeah.
Or you have to listen to them like 45 times before they start to click kind of thing.
Yeah, well, they really clicked for me on the later albums.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the 70s stuff is really good, but it actually was the later ones for me, like the 80s and 90s ones. They were like, this is awesome. Like, because I think it's more that I respected the transition that they made to like with their sound. Like they sound completely different at the end of their career versus the start. Whereas if you look at their contemporaries, like I don't know, like Rolling Stones. They sound exactly the same. Like
More or less. They
Yeah,
just like got worse as they got
yeah,
older.
yeah. Like I remember what was that? They just released one with the film clip with fucking Sydney Sweeney in it.
The Rolling Stones.
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Oh, you're
And
right.
it just sounds like a Rolling Stones song from like
This is just
30
the
years
Rolling
ago.
Stones Corporation. That's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this lumbering on like this Leviathan.
yeah. There's maybe some synth in there somewhere, and that's it. Like, but it's all they pretty much sound the same.
Yeah.
Whereas they sound completely different. Like, yeah, that last album is amazing. Like, I love that album.
Phobia, yeah.
And the 80s stuff is really good. I love the sort of move into like the 80s sort of rock.
Yeah, it's like
little post-punk kind of weird,
New wave,
new
kind of
wavy.
hard rocky. Yeah. And like, cause like their first couple of records, like the first one, just the self-titled Kinks, is like, you know, it's got a few good songs on there, and like, it's sort of just a compilation. It feels like a compilation.
Yeah.
And to be honest, on this, when I was like going through all the records, like I was actually getting into these first Kinks records more than I kind of ever have. Like I always kind of was like, no, I want to listen to the later
weird shit.
Like,
yeah.
and even like, you don't even have to get to the 70s. Like once you get to like it's like something else by the Kinks, that's when it starts feeling like they're an actual cohesive record kind of thing. Like it feels like it all works together. It's not just a few singles and then some filler songs and covers kind of thing. Like, and then when you get to like, even like the concept thing starts to happen sort of around like, maybe Face to Face is sort of almost a pseudo concept album, but then by like Village Green Preservation Society, that's totally feels like kind of like a concept record. And then for the next bunch are all kind of like, until like Sleepwalker, they're all kind of concept records.
Yeah.
And but the sound by Village Green has like progressed a lot more richer, textured. Yeah, that's when it's really sort of more character driven, very British. Like, you know, Village Green. That's like a little cricket pitch and a little, you know, and like, you know, there's like the song Village Green, you know, is so nice, and just like this sort of like going back to his hometown and finding out like, you know, the chick he had a crush on is married to the grocer boy and things like that. Like, yeah, it's definitely like, and yeah, like by you get through the 70s and then it's just doing like vaudevillian shit and like country. There's a lot of country that gets through the 70s and trumpety kind of stuff.
Yeah, the trumpety stuff I kind of like. I don't normally like that because I think I've been scarred by Scar. But like they yeah, I really like their use of trumpets because it's I don't know, it feels right. It feels correct rather than like overbearing. It can be overbearing sometimes when it's like, we're gonna do a richer sound. We're a rock band and we're gonna do a richer sound, so we're gonna put in trumpets. They also did this a little bit early on, where, you know, lots of people did this in the 60s and 70s with the church organ stuff.
Yeah.
They did lots of that. That I think is like I always fit. There's a bit of that going on right now in the track we're listening.
Perfect time.
But I always feel like that's this is a bit cynical, but I always feel like that's a like cheap way to get like to fill in like with texture and stuff, like make it seem bigger and so, but I like the way they use it. Like they use it really well in this song, for instance. But yeah, I don't know where I was going at that point. But just yeah, the bringing in those elements that in other bands are a bit like, yeah, okay, like you can see they're very intentional with this stuff.
And like also like the other bands would like add it on top of the sound, whereas like there won't even be guitar on these tracks sometimes. Like you know, like Muswell Hillbillies I guess was the first one when they're really using, well, that's when the Mike Cotton sound like sort of joined up with the Kinks, and like that's like a whole, you know, tuba and brass section sort of thing, like band that they're playing with. And like, you know, Ray was obviously having fun playing with that kind of stuff and the sort of music he grew up on probably and likes.
Yeah, he his sisters used to go dancing to that music.
Yeah.
Because this is what I wanted to talk about as well. He is kind of like a cusper boomer, right? Because he was born in the war was still going when he was born, right?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what year he was born, but I guess it was like the 40s or something.
Yeah, I think it was like 44 or something like that. And I think technically baby boomers are like 47 onwards or something like that. But what's interesting about that is I have this theory that like all the great artists are generation cuspers.
Yeah, okay.
Because they kind of have like a reverence for the generation that they're not quite a part of, and then like they kind of take from the generation that they're not kind of part of and like build something new out of that.
And they probably feel alienated from like both the ones before and after a bit, so they can be kind of more introspective and yeah.
If you think about like the great Gen X artists, or there's not many of those, but like they are sort of like cuspers. Same with the boomers, and same with the millennials. Even fewer of those, but you know what I mean. Like it's usually older millennials or younger millennials who are doing interesting shit. You know?
True.
So yeah, that's my little theory on cuspers.
Okay, no, I have no evidence to disprove it, so I'll accept it.
Yeah, so I think Ray is obviously uniquely talented, but like there's that generational stuff that definitely helps, I think. And with the big band stuff, yeah, his sisters used to go out and dance to that kind of big band music, and I think he has a connection to that as well, because like one of his sisters literally died on the dance floor.
Yeah.
From an undiagnosed like heart issue or something.
Yeah.
He literally collapsed into a man's arms, and like that is so like kind of romantic.
Yeah, and there's a song.
It's kind of slay to use the gay terminology, but yeah.
And there's the song "Come Dancing."
Yes,
so that's about that. Yeah, that's like early '80s one. Yeah. And yeah, like back to the big band thing. They're like on like Muswell Hillbillies. Like I like it's all played just like a little slow or something. Like where it's like like it's got
the Randy Newman stuff.
Yeah,
like,
it's almost it's like sounds like retarded almost.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you know, like that movie, was it Land of the Dead with it's the one where like Dennis Hopper, like it's like of the Dario Argento. And it's when the zombies are kind of like starting to remember their humanity, and there's like the marching band all in the gazebo, and they're like, that's kind of like, it's like not that retarded, but like that kind of sound always kind of reminds me of that kind of thing. And like in like a song like Acute Schizophrenia, Paranoia Blues, or like Holiday. Well, actually, I can't remember if they use a lot of horns on Holiday, but yeah, the Schizophrenia one, like they'll just like that way, the horns are just play just a little, like a millisecond slower than maybe you ordinarily would do it. It just, just such like a great sound, sort of like, it just creates such like a great kind of like, like paranoid kind of like sort of absurd sort of feeling.
Yeah, but also at the same time has like a I always feel like you get the absurdity, you'll get the irony, but there's always like a respect for the thing that they're like taking from.
Yeah,
you know?
It's not just like piss taking. It's like, oh yeah, we're just doing this thing and it's gonna sound stupid. It's like it's someone who's actually likes it and stuff, but then it's like, well, I'm not just also gonna just copy it and make a record that existed 20 years prior or whatever.
But it's also piss taking. Like, this is the amazing thing about them. I think it's mostly Ray, but like I'm a Ray stan, so
same.
But the amazing thing about them is that it also does feel like a piss take at the same time, but it's not, if that makes sense. You know, like it's got that, like I said, that teenage boy energy of like, let's be dickheads, you know, like, but yeah, it also has a profound reverence for what they're being dickheads about.
Yeah, like he's such a funny, like, silly guy. Like, you gotta read that X-Ray book. It's like the best, it's one of the best rock biographies I've ever read, kind of thing. And the best ones are always like that. It's kind of like Norm Macdonald's book, where it's like, you know, like a lot of it's just nonsense and stuff, but it's hilarious. Another good book on that sort of topic is John Otway's book, who he's not like that well known. Like, he's like a British guy who really wanted to be a famous rock star but was never really like that talented, but despite all of that sort of got some like notoriety about him. There's a thing, John Otway, the Old Grey Whistle Test. YouTube that, it's hilarious live performance. But yeah, he wrote this book, and it's like it's not like sort of auto-fictiony or made up, but it's just so fun and funny, and it's like he's so like self-aware of what an annoying person he was, sort of thing, and like how. But yeah, like X-Ray is just full of like these hilarious things, and like he'll tell stories and they don't sound real, but then there is some truth in it, and he's constantly just presenting himself as this like sad old loser, and like there's all this like conspiratorial kind of things going on, and he'll just like tell some long story, and then it'll just have like a punchline. I'd have to find the quote, but yeah. Anyway, I recommend that book over all Kinks books, X-Ray.
Okay, because that's written by Ray.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I wanted to speak about as well, is that, and one of the reasons why I think it's relevant to this podcast is there's this theory that like I can't remember who said it, some like person writing about rock music or whatever, that like most rock stars want to be writers and most writers want to be rock stars, and like I feel like he's both. Because he's like, from what you've told me anyway, he sounds like a really great prose writer as well as a lyricist. Whereas I think Dave was more of the rock star in the band, like he was the more extroverted, like
he was more of a straightforward guy, like you know what I mean, he sort of like saw what he saw, and it was just like, whereas Ray, I think it just goes in brain and then goes through like a million little processes to like reinterpret things and like whatever. Like Ray would have been much more in his head, and Dave was more straightforward, and like he's just really good guitarist, just wanted to like play up and party and like whatever, and and he did plenty of that, but he was definitely like didn't get to like do as much as rocking out, I guess, as he would have liked. But then he probably wouldn't have ever got to done any if it wasn't for his brother.
And his brother seems like that he wants to he doesn't want to rock out, he wants to invent characters and like funny situations and like write a song about hay fever or like it's not so much about the peacocking and the like being getting pussy and stuff like that. It's more about just expressing yourself, which I think is very cute.
I think it's like peacocking in his own kind of way.
Of
like
course.
It's not this obvious like Mick Jagger at the front of the thing. It's like he wasn't even like gonna be the singer originally, like, because he doesn't have a classically good voice, but it works really good. And there's something where he's like, in the book, he's talking about being misquoted. It's like they said I said I can sing better than Sinatra's. What I said is I can sing You Really Got Me better than Sinatra. And I agree. Like, I think Ray has a great voice, and he does that like wavery thing a lot, where he like wavers his voice, tremolos it or whatever the word is. And he has a distinct, unique voice, just like his face. Like a big, wide. Gap tooth, like.
Oh, I love it. See, this is why I love Ray as well, because like I have this weird thing for gappy teeth. My ex had a gappy tooth, and I just find it charming.
Well, he nearly got surgery to get and I think it was just too expensive, or he was afraid of the like pain of it or something, so he didn't go through with it. But then like I think eventually they realized like, oh no, this is like a selling thing. We could have just made him look generic, and now we've got like a unique kind of, because all those British dudes are fucking weird looking. Like the Beatles are all goofy looking. Like but they're cool too. Like they all look cool. Like Mick Jagger and Keith, like they just look limey, fucking like. You know what I mean?
Freddie Mercury had terrible teeth.
Yeah.
Apples through the fence, that one.
Totally. But like that's how you can get away with, like, and I do like that idea of like these people who probably like, I don't think Ray was like unpopular in school, from what it sounds like. He got like along with his classmates and quite liked school and stuff like that, but he wasn't also like a jock kind of like like these guys, they get to be goofy looking in high school, and then they become a rock star, and then they're like, king of the world kind of thing. Like, I guess that's just like your like epic nerd like redemption kind of story.
Yeah, I feel like Ray in school probably was like probably similar to how I was in school, which is like I wasn't like the most popular, but I was kind of friends with everyone. Like
Yeah,
maybe.
And he was kind of sporty.
Yeah,
From what I
yeah.
understand, he played soccer and cricket and stuff like that. So probably rugby or something. Yeah. So, and like his brother was expelled and like for like having sex with a girl, and like I think the story was like he snuck out and was like fucking her in some field, and then like the principal or something like happened upon them, and then he was like him and the girl were like expelled, and I think she was like just taken to a different town to never see him again. She might have even gotten pregnant or something and then had to abort it or something. I forget the details. Like I'm really bad at remembering all the like individual things, but it was something like that. And then that's what the album Schoolboys in Disgrace is kind of based on.
Yeah.
But there's a bit on the back, like I only just noticed this today, but basically it says like, oh yeah, you might as well just find it. Yeah. But I'll lay the backstory to this. So there's the albums, the Preservation albums, Preservation Act 1 and 2 are like the most concept-y of the concept albums. They're like rock operas.
Yeah.
And there's like three main characters. There's like Flash, who's like the hyper-capitalist developer guy. Then there's Mr. Black, who's like the pious religious socialist. And then there's the Tramp, who's just your kind of like man on the street, like objective sort of observer. Anyway, like, and so, you know, Flash and Black are kind of villains. But on the, like, if you read this bit here where it says like, you know, like he was about a naughty schoolboy who got involved with a naughty schoolgirl and like learned to distrust his authority and that the establishment was all after. He's like, and that man grew up to be Mr. Flash. Like it feels like just like such a tacked on thing at the end. Like let's make, because it's the next album after the Preservation albums. So it's like let's just let's like make it part of that sort of like timeline. But yeah, like I said, that was the first one I ever bought on record.
Interesting.
And it seems like it should be like a totally shit album, like, you know, but because a lot of bands, like I remember that was my experience, you go through bands and then you get through like to the 70s, like you're like,
to the concept albums.
Yeah, you're like the Pretty Things, fuck yeah, they're sick, and then you listen to like their 70s albums, you're like, the fuck is this bullshit? Like, so I kind of thought it was just going to be like that. And then, yeah, it's got some amazing songs. Education, that's my favorite song on Schoolboys in Disgrace, where it's just sort of like this long kind of like organ-driven sort of like rock opera song about just like man like discovering tools and stuff, but then like, and you know, it gets into like philosophical about like, you know, we can do all this stuff but we still don't know why we exist sort of thing, but then has like funny lyrics where it's like everybody needs education, even aborigines or something like that, or every little half-breed, and something about pygmies and things like that. Yeah, and it gets into like that like right at the end, like it has like the, I don't know what the word is, but it's some kind of like, you know, chorus line stage performance-y sort of reprise sort of thing. It really works.
See, I'm sort of a hater of like concept albums, so these are my least favorite of the albums that you made me listen to. But that's not a reflection on them. That's just my own thing with concept albums. Like, I find it very hard to get over the like. I don't know what it is. It's like, because I should like it. It sounds like the kind of stuff, like in principle, that I would like. You know, an idea that is like explored like fully through a musical journey, right? Like, and I love musicals, so, and opera and stuff like that, so I don't get what it is about concept albums. I think it probably has to do with, like you said, the 70s being like producing so many shit ones.
Yeah, I never really got into like Tommy and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's fine, but I don't know, just, I didn't, you know what I mean? It just like, it makes you go, I want to listen to the earlier Who albums. Yeah. And like those Preservation, I like those albums a lot, but like, you know, they have like, they're not every song on it is a banger. Yeah. But the ones that are bangers are like Sweet Lady Genevieve. That's just like, that could be a radio hit. I think it was a single. Like, that's a great song, and because they're also with that concept, they don't stay on topic the whole way through. There's kind of these little like holiday songs in there where it's like there's like the main character like I think that's like Flash reminiscing about like a love that's been lost, and so it takes this little like detour to be like to humanize Flash and be like, yeah, but look, this when he was young, like he lost the girl he loved kind of thing. And then, another song on Preservation Act 1 that I love is Cricket, which is the most absurd Kinks song, which is no guitar and just like straight up marching band horns and stuff like that. And it's about like how like basically the rules of life are the same as the rules of cricket, and you like, you got to keep your bat straight and like don't let the it's like there's a the devil has a player called the demon bowler, and it's like don't let that devil in, like you gotta like just constantly like he'll try to leg before wicket you, or like bowl a maiden over, like so it's like this cricket analogy. So I
taken to absurd
lengths. That song when I heard it, I just was like what, and I had to just keep listening to it, and I always
then you're also like, yeah, life is like cricket.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I just love the sound of it, and just like, and then there's like a song like One of the Survivors, which is sort of a throwback to a character from Village Green Preservation Society, Johnny Thunder, which I think was a comic character. There was a comic character, Johnny Thunder, and there's obviously the rock musician Johnny Thunders, but this was before Johnny Thunders. So this is like Johnny Thunder as an old guy, like riding his motorbike with graying sideburns, but he's still listening to like the Hollywood Argyles and like Dion and the Belmonts. He's like, late 50s, early 60s kind of rock and roll, while he's, just like cruising down the like highway. And it's a good like, White Line Fever kind of like driving song. So like it just explores all these different like avenues, and like those songs are all bangers, but then you do have other songs where it's kind of maybe a bit goofy. And then the Preservation Act 2, which is like a double record, so it gets even longer, and it has like sort of more like this one is called Flash's Dream, and it's like Flash like talking to his consciousness in a dream, and like sort of acknowledging that he's doing something bad, and like, and they have all these like and then it's like the British government now is that like it's like a radio, like the BBC radio kind of thing.
But this goes to my theory about, or not my theory, someone else said it about like rock stars being wannabe writers, like because these seem like, Ray, you should have just written a novel. Like it's this frustrated novelist's tendency maybe that's where the concept album thing comes from, just generally.
He was doing like stage performances of this. I think he was originally just writing them to do as like his own side projects, but then it was probably just easier to just do it to wrangle the Kinks in and like use them, and he's also a notorious tight ass. Like at the start of the biography, I think it's Complicated Life, Johnny Rogan, which I didn't enjoy the biography. I found it tedious to read, but whatever. The funniest part of it though was at the start he was talking about like the guy who's writing the biography, and Ray's like talking about like organizing meeting Ray, and like Ray's secretary or whatever assistant's like, oh, okay, well you're gonna be having lunch here, and she's like, oh, and by the way, is it okay if you pay for lunch? and he's like, this millionaire like is just like gonna be too tight. And like it's like no one's telling Ray this, but they just know, like the secretary's like, it'll just be easier if you just pay for the lunch, like don't make a thing about this,
Oh my god, that's so funny. Do you want to talk about the later ones?
Yeah, sure.
I really loved the 80s one. What was it called?
Word of Mouth?
No,
State of Confusion?
Is it the 80s one? Maybe it's the 70s one. Give the people what they want.
Oh, give the people, yeah.
70s?
No, that's 80s. It might even be like 1980 or 81 or something, that one.
Yeah. I don't know what it was about that, but like it felt like a vibe shift.
They to take on a more pub rocky kind of like, it's sort of like new wavy, not quite new wave, but like
pub rock is a good term.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I liked it, because like in some ways I'm very Australian, and I fucking love pub rock.
Yeah.
So like
when it's done well, it's great.
Yeah, and it is done very well in this album. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, it should be.
So I can get the track listing.
What did you say? It was give the people what they want. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's right. That's the one with Destroyer on. That's great. And Art Lover.
Oh, Art Lover's on this one, is it?
Yeah, we gotta talk about Art Lover.
Oh, Art Lover's amazing.
That's probably like, if I had to give an example of like what we were talking about with his writing, being kind of like, we haven't really talked about the horniness yet. There is a lot of horniness.
Yeah.
But it's also like the evocative nature of it, the character sketching, the and that kind of like tongue-in-cheek, but also like not taking the piss so far that like it's just stupid, you know, like it's
like he's not just constructing characters then to just tear them down.
yeah, exactly.
He's like making characters and then injecting himself into it and like presenting it like warts and all, but being very it's always sympathetic. I think it's always humanized. Yeah. And so Art Lover, well, it's, I don't know if there's a lyric sheet in there. We maybe I might be able to just read the lyrics. See if I got a lyric sheet. Otherwise, I can probably remember most.
I'll probably put Art Lover as the outro.
Oh, great. Yeah, no, it's a good song. Just like, let's see, what is this? No. Well, anyway, like
I'll just look him up.
Okay, yeah.
Sunday afternoon, there's something special. It's just like another world. Jogging in the park is my excuse to look at all the little girls. I'm not a flasher in a raincoat. I'm not a dirty old man. I'm not gonna snatch you from your mother. I'm an art lover. Come to daddy. Come to daddy. Come to daddy. And it continues like that. He's basically perving on a chick and claiming that he's an art lover because of that. She's a work of art.
Yeah, he's like, I just want to watch. But it seems also it gets like towards the end. There's a bit like, what's it say something about like, it's just a reminder of what's been taken from me.
Yes.
And so he had a daughter when the Kinks were first blowing up. He got a Lithuanian chick, Raza, pregnant and like married her. And like just as like they were starting to tour and stuff like that, and then he was kind of like a neglectful husband, and then eventually, you know, she and the daughter moved out, and so he kind of like was estranged from his daughter for a while, and so I think it's sort of about that too. He's like, it starts off as this like Lolita-y kind of song, but then I think it gets to like, no, he's not doing it for sexual reasons. It's because he misses his daughter.
Yeah.
But there is that lyric, something was like something about I'm always wearing shades or whatever.
The other thing that, like, this song, and this is actually a lot of songs that they write, that Ray has written, has almost like a sonnet structure, where, like, it'll start out with one theme, and then at the end, the last verse will, like, just, it won't twist it, but it'll turn it slightly. And this one has that too, so it's all about what you were just saying there. And then it's like, Sunday afternoon can't last forever. Wish I could take you home, so come on, give us a smile. Before you vanish out of view, I've learned to appreciate you the way art lovers do, and only I want to look at you. Like, this is a great way to sort of like round that off. It's almost like, you know, in Shakespeare's sonnets, where like it'll link back to the theme, but like it'll do it in a slightly different way. Like it'll sort of turn it a little bit.
Okay.
Like, rather than just continue with the theme until the end, you know, like the idea that he just wants her for himself, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's like I think I was reading like Pale Fire by Nabokov, and I think it was that where it's saying something like about how like you got to pay attention to Shakespeare when he breaks the rhyme or something. Is that kind of what you're getting at? Like,
yeah, it's a little bit. It's more about the form.
Okay.
So like it's the little bit at the end of the sonnet. There's like a couple of lines. And it's like, it'll usually refer back to the main theme of the poem, but it won't. It might be the same theme. It'll just like slightly.
Okay.
Skew.
All right.
So he's sort of doing similar things there.
Yeah. I also like just this idea of like justifying something because it's art.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's like, this is art.
It's art. Yeah. I mean,
I'm just appreciating art.
I've been guilty of this. Like, this is art. It's fine.
Yeah.
So that the great songs on that one, and there's very I don't know, it feels very modern, that one. Like,
Yeah.
just the sound, like...
Yeah, like it's, you know, like a lot of, I guess it's engaging with the more hard rocky kind of sound that was emerging in the like late 70s and 80s. Like Low Budget was probably like the first kind of album of that ilk from the Kinks. And that's a pretty good album, and like, and you know, it's got funny songs. It's sort of about like gas prices and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it engages, like he's engaging more with the like modern world in the later albums and stuff, and like, probably nothing like too mind-blowing of a like comment or something, but there's definitely more interesting than a lot of the other stuff you could listen to at that time, you know.
Yeah, it's stuff that's more like worthy and like, oh, let's bet.
It's not just like Nixon's bad or
he can just write about like quotidian stuff and it's like hilarious or like soulful or joyful, or like he can do anything. It's not all just comedy. Like
no.
But like he can literally turn any subject that he's interested in, it, no matter how mundane, into like a really great song.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like one of those things that's like a writing workshop where you like challenge yourself. It's like, I want you to write a song about like this rug, you know, like
Yeah.
and like, well, it's like, you've seen that movie Frank.
I think I've seen the poster, but I haven't.
It's
seen
like
the
John Ronson was in this band and he wrote the book on it, and then they made a movie where it's not even really the story of what happened. But there's like a bit in that where the guy's like, yeah, you can just write a song about anything, and he sees like a little tuft of like thread hanging out of like this like rug or something, and then he just writes this really nice complicated song just on the spot. Like that's a good movie.
Okay. I should have a look at that one. The other one that I wanted to talk about was this one.
Phobia.
Yeah, Phobia. Mostly because of the title track. It's another song that like, this is probably the song that most, I don't know if I said this on the recording yet, but like that kind of like South Park kind of song, like,
yeah.
but it's so good at the same time. Like it's about like phobias.
Yeah, but it's like done in this like, yeah, it sounds like the intro to like a spooky cartoon or something.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's like monsters here. And,
Yeah.
and like look at the cover of that record where there's like
Yeah.
the cat and stuff. Like, it seems kind of like they're having a laugh, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had that on record. It's like, because that was like their last album from '93, I think.
Yeah.
And that was when no one bought records through the '90s. Like, I think Jack said it recently, was like that was the only time since records existed that people didn't really buy them. Yeah. So like they didn't print that many. They might
Not
have
only
printed like
people didn't buy
500
them, like it was sort of like, oh, you've got records.
That's
like
old.
Yeah, that's old. Like
Yeah,
it's like having a black and white TV or something like that.
Yeah, it just seemed like my dad, I remember in the '90s, was just like just buying all his records on CD.
Yeah, so were my parents, and
Yeah.
luckily they kept like most of their records, but they got rid of a lot. Like they were like, oh, we can just get it on CD.
I took my dad's records,
Oh, that's good.
most of them, all the ones I wanted and stuff. Like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, so stuff like that. You know, he even had like a Kiss record, even though he doesn't like Kiss. And I was like, oh, you got Hotter Than Hell? Fuck yeah.
Every single one of those as well, like you can, I don't know if it's direct influence, but you can hear bits of like what they're doing, like Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and in the Kinks stuff.
Totally,
all
totally.
throughout it. Like,
Yeah.
Is that an influence thing, or is it a?
I think it's just
they
that time.
anticipated it,
You know,
or...
like the blues thing of the '60s. You know, like Jimmy Page and that were like in those sort of blues scenes. You know, like, and obviously they're developing the sound into this like British hard rock, blues rock kind of thing. So I think it's just like that. It's just the milieu.
The zeitgeist.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, that's the best I can sort of come up with. Like, I'm not sure how much of an influence. Like a lot of those people too. Like there's a small world that scene. Like Rod Stewart was nearly the singer of the Kinks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was one of the ones that tried out, and there was other people, and like I forget this full who else was, but there was a lot of those. Like you read those biographies, there's always like familiar faces popping up, like trying out to be members, or they're all trying to form a group and stuff like that. You know, like Jimmy Page, I think was playing like on like Alexis Corner Records and Terry Reid and stuff like that, and and then they're just all, I think they're just trying different permutations. Like Led Zeppelin to me always felt like a band that was kind of like more of like, and I don't know this for fact, I haven't read any Led Zeppelin books, and this not to throw shade on them, but it seemed more like a constructed thing by like record executives. Like they're like, this guy's an incredible singer, this guy's fucking great guitarist, amazing drummer, amazing, like, and they sort of forced them to make, they tried just different permutations until something really fucking clicked, you know?
This one, Phobia, I really like the opening song on this, Wall of Fire.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And this one as well, like, again, this is probably just stuff in the air, but like, it just really reminds me of a lot of things, but Phobia, for instance, was it Phobia? I think it was. Like, there are bits of it that like, it just remind me of like White Snake or something that. Yeah. Like it's got that I don't know how to describe it musically, but it's got the same sort of sound of that kind of late 80s, early 90s kind of. It's
like the hair metal-y, hard rocky thing without going like super into like super wussy hair metal or super like, you know, too heavy kind of metal. Yeah, it's like that kind of, there's like that good guitar. I don't know, like I never really was much of a pedal head when I played guitar, so I don't know all the different types of effects, but I know what you mean with that sound. And it's like a very electric kind of like slick but heavy kind
and
of
it looks like, it sounds like they would look like they would have hair.
Yeah.
The hair.
But by then they're all cutting their hair short, so having mullets and stuff. Like if you look at all those, look at Ray on this one. It's just got like short hair. Yeah. By the 80s, a lot of those dudes are all getting mullets or like, and then, or the not, you know, like John Lennon when he's got like the short hair and stuff like that. And I remember as a kid, I used to always think like, they look so cool with the long hair, but as I get older, I'm like, nah, that's sick. They get their like business cut and like, or their new wave kind of like feathered short hair kind of thing or whatever.
Yeah. What about the late? Which of the late albums would you say is your favorite?
Oh, like what do you mean? Like 80s onwards? Yeah. Well, I mean, Give the People What They Want's got Art Lover, and that's definitely my favorite of their 80s tracks. I like Phobia a lot too. Word of Mouth's really good. I'm just gonna say Give the People What They Want. We'll be united on this one. Yeah.
We're on the Units ticket. Yeah.
I think it was the first one of the 80s ones I bought too, so that might have something to do with it.
How many 80s ones do they do though? Like,
let me think. It's that one. So it's Give the People What They Want, State of Confusion, Word of Mouth, UK Jive, Think Visual. So 5.
Oh, yeah, they did a lot. Yeah.
I might be missing something. I mean, there'd be like, there's also like live records and things like that, but without just like canon LPs kind of thing. Yeah, I think it's just those 5.
Yeah.
So one every 2 years. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And it seems like Ray is the sort of person who's always writing songs. So they probably never ran out of material.
Yeah. It seems like he's letting Dave write more of the riffs and stuff on these ones. Yeah. You know, like, because obviously, like, Dave didn't really get to do what he probably wanted through the early 70s and stuff, and then by this it seems like, I mean, Ray's a good guitarist too, you know, like, but yeah, like, I think Dave had definitely more of a, like, write some fucking, like, chunky, like, rocker riffs, you know?
Yeah. Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about, just musically as well, like, so you used to play music, you still do?
I pick up my guitar like twice a year, and then I get bored and I go, I don't know why, I think I'm going to have fun.
I remember I spoke about this possibly at the start of this year, it might have been earlier, I can't remember, with Eric Harris, and like I would ask you this question as well.
The Columbine
Gold
I know.
Do you think riff music is ever coming back?
It's so hard to say, like, because people are always trying to make predictions on, like, music trends, and I'm just like, they can't even predict, like, the weather 3 seconds into the future, like, so, it probably will in some form, like Kanye will start sampling, like, black metal riffs and stuff on his records or something like that, but it'll be in that kind of form, like, it won't be just, like, you know, there's always riffy bands, you know, like Amyl and the Sniffers is a popular band now. There's always like a rock band or something that's like doing like, but they all feel like revival, throwback stuff now. They don't feel like a new, interesting thing. And so, like, yeah, if you just mean just like riff-driven rock music, yeah, it might be more or less dead.
I think rock music is dead.
Yeah. Like,
but
rock and roll lives on forever.
Yeah. What's interesting about these guys though is that they recycled a lot of like styles and stuff like that, but they really made it individual to what they were doing, and I think that's a large part because of Ray. Yeah. Because he's such a great writer, and a lot of it comes from him. But obviously, like you said, Dave is great as well, and it's been a great journey for me because like I don't think I've like really delved into a band in this with this sort of depth for quite a while, and I think the reason why I stuck with it for a long time was like Ray is so writerly, and that kind of really hooked me. Like I don't think if this was any other kind of writer, I would have like been as entertained by the journey. So great recommendation for me.
I'm really glad that like you do like, because I was like, you know, when we first organized this, you were like, oh yeah, I only know like a few hits, and I'm like, yeah, you could have just been like, yeah, wasn't really in the mood for it, or it's not as good as the Beatles or something like that. Like, so no, I'm really pleased that you're like into it. Like, that's so sick. Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say about the Kinks, or?
I'm really bad at like just
something
vague, abstract questions. I'm like, if I have a specific question, I can ramble forever. But when it's like a vague, like, what's your favorite this? I'm like, oh fuck, I don't know. I just think people should just like, you know, if you're like 60s, 70s kind of music, you should like, you like the Beatles, you should check out the Kinks. It doesn't have to be a competition like one's better than the other. You have to be either side. You know, like I personally am kind of bored of the Beatles at the moment, but I like solo John Lennon and like Paul McCartney solo stuff even, and George Harrison's, and Yoko I think is fucking sick. So one day I'll get back to the Beatles, you know, but just at the moment the Kinks kind of scratch every itch for me. Like Ryan interviewed me for American Bulgaria, and he asked me about this, and I think I maybe did come off a little bit of a Beatles hater. I don't know, hopefully not too bad, but like I'm not a Beatles hater. So I just want to say, like, read X-Ray, go through the Kinks albums, start at like something else by the Kinks, and if you don't really vibe with it, jump to the next one until you find one you really then sit on that one for a bunch of listens, and then like listen to this podcast again and go with the like racist and pedophile songs we recommend, you know. I'll make you a playlist if you want, you know, like
that'd be cool. We could do an accompanying playlist.
All right,
I'll post in the show
I'll
notes.
do all of like the most salacious Kinks songs, or the ones I mentioned that I think are the funnest and whatever.
No, seriously, do that.
I'll
link it in the show
I'll do
notes.
it then. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me again, Matt. And where can people find you if you want them to find you?
I always forget to plug my shit. So I write a zine called Rango Tango. You can get it at www.cowardpunchrecords.com.au, or you can just find me on Twitter or Instagram and DM me. And if anyone wants to write any reviews or anything for my zine, that'd be greatly appreciated. I'll send you a free zine for doing that. But yeah, that's about it. Like, I'll
link that in the show notes as well. Thanks again, and thanks for welcoming me to your lovely home and being surrounded by records and shit. Like, I don't have a record player, so I love this. I love like being surrounded by records and listening to music all night. So thanks for that, Matt. Thanks for joining me.
It's a pleasure.
Beautiful.
Sunday afternoon, there's something special, it's just like another world. Jogging in the park is my excuse to look at all the little girls. flasher in a raincoat. I'm not a dirty old man. I'm not gonna snatch you from your mother. I'm an art lover. Come to daddy. Oh, come to daddy. Come to daddy. Pretty little legs, I want to draw them like a Degas ballerina. Pure white skin, like porcelain. She's a work of art, and I should know. I'm an art lover. Come to daddy. And I'll give you some spangles. Little girl, don't notice me, watching as she innocently plays. She can't see me staring at her, because I'm always wearing shades. She feeds the ducks, looks at the flowers. I follow her around for hours and hours. I'd take her home, but that can never be. She's just a substitute for what's been taken from me. Oh, come to daddy, come on. Sunday afternoon can't last forever. Wish I could take you home. So, come on, give us a smile before you vanish out of view. I've learned to appreciate you the way art lovers do. And I only want to look at you.